The fog didn't just roll into the bayou. It bled into it, a thick, suffocating veil of gray that swallowed the cypress trees whole. I've lived on the edge of the Blackwood Marsh for 30 years, and I know better than to step foot on the boardwalk once the sun dips below the horizon. The locals say the swamp has a memory, that it keeps the voices of everyone who ever drowned in its murky depths, waiting for the right moment to use them again. I didn't believe them, not until last Tuesday. I was coming back from the ranger station. My truck stalled out 3 miles up the logging road. With no cell service and a storm brewing, I took the shortcut, the old, rotting wooden boardwalk that snakes through the center of the marsh. The planks groaned under my weight, a rhythmic, splintering sound that echoed far too loudly in the dead silence of the night. At first, it was just the smell. A thick, cloying stench of stagnant water and decaying peat that clung to the back of my throat. Then, the bioluminescence started. I looked down into the water, expecting the reflection of the moon, but there was no moon. Instead, a dozen pinpricks of neon, sickly crimson light flickered to life just inches beneath the surface. They weren't fish. They were eyes, perfectly circular and burning with a predatory, intelligent hunger. I stopped dead in my tracks, my breath hitching as I realized they were tracking my movement. Every time I took a step, they glided beneath the dark water, keeping perfect pace with me. I started to walk faster, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. That's when I heard it, a whisper, faint and tremulous, drifting up from the black depths directly to my left. It was my mother's voice. She died 5 years ago, yet there it was, clear as a bell, trembling with a feigned panic. "Help me, honey. I'm stuck. It's so cold down here." I froze. I knew it wasn't her. Couldn't be. But the cadence, the slight rasp in her throat, the way she used to draw out the word honey, it was terrifyingly perfect. I squeezed my eyes shut, gripping the rotting railing of the boardwalk so hard the splinters bit into my palms. I started to recite the alphabet, trying to drown out the sound, but the swamp grew louder. From the right side of the boardwalk, a new voice emerged. My daughter's, high and sweet, echoing the exact phrase I'd said to her that morning before she left for school. "Daddy, are you home yet?" The voice sounded wet, as if she were speaking through a mouthful of silt. I began to run. I didn't care about the rotted wood or the holes that could snap an ankle. I just ran into the suffocating fog. The glowing red eyes were no longer just drifting. They were surfacing. Bubbles broke the water's tension, and long, pale, multi-jointed fingers, too many fingers and far too long, began to claw at the edges of the boardwalk, pulling the structure downward. The wood shrieked in protest. Every few seconds, the mimicry shifted. I heard my own voice, distorted and deep, laughing from behind me. I heard the frantic, panicked breathing of a man I'd seen on the news who had gone missing in this very marsh a month prior. They were gathering, circling, feeding off my fear, using the sounds of my life to lure me off the safety of the path. I reached the midway point, where the boardwalk widened into a rickety observation deck, and I saw something that turned my blood to ice. Standing at the far end of the deck was a figure. It was hunched over, covered in thick, black slime and tangled river reeds. It didn't have a face, just a smooth, pale membrane where features should be. But as I watched, the membrane rippled and a mouth tore open. Not a human mouth, but a jagged vertical slit that pulsed with that same sickly red light. It spoke in a chorus. It used my father's gruff command, my wife's soft bedtime lullaby, and the neighbor's frantic screams all at once, blending them into a horrifying, dissonant melody. It was mocking me. It was practicing. I realized then that it didn't want me dead. Immediately, it wanted to record me. It wanted to add my voice to its collection, to use me to lure the next unsuspecting traveler who wandered too close to the black water. I didn't stop. I threw my heavy flashlight at the creature, watching as it struck the membrane and seemed to be absorbed into the slime without a sound. The creature let out a high-pitched, piercing shriek. Not a scream, but a playback of a woman's glass-shattering terror from a crime scene I had once heard on a podcast. It lunged, its limbs moving with a sickening, liquid fluidity. I dove to the side, sliding across the damp wood and narrowly missing a gap where the planks had given way. I scrambled toward the tree line, the sound of the marsh behind me erupting into a cacophony of overlapping, stolen voices. They were all calling for me now, 100 variations of my name, screaming, pleading, giggling, and sobbing. I broke through the wall of cypress trees and hit the dirt of the main road, not looking back until I reached the safety of the ranger station's porch lights. I collapsed there, gasping for air, my clothes stained with marsh muck and my hands bleeding. The forest behind me fell into an abrupt, unnatural silence. Then, from the darkness of the woods, a sound drifted out that stopped my heart cold. It was my own voice, perfectly replicated, soft and inviting, whispering from the trees. "Wait, you forgot your keys." I didn't turn around. I didn't check my pockets. I drove away until the gas light flickered, never once glancing in the rearview mirror. But even now, sitting in my living room with every light burning, I can't sleep, because every time the house gets quiet, I hear it. A faint, wet scratching against the exterior wall. And then, a whisper from inside the air vents. My mother's voice, my daughter's laugh, my own panicked gasps from the boardwalk. All playing back in a loop, waiting for the moment I let my guard down, waiting for the moment I answer back. If you're ever near the Blackwood Marsh, keep your head down. Don't listen to the reeds. And for God's sake, if you hear someone you love calling your name from the water, run until your lungs give out, because they aren't who you think they are, and they are never going to let you go.